to an arrest. Let's bring in Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. Congresswoman, it's been obviously an emotional and difficult week. But I wanted to ask you about, there have been several reports now that there are nerves on Capitol Hill because, I mean, this was a political assassination, and that many on the Hill are really having conversations with their staff about security and about these events. You and your senators, you go home to your districts and you're with your
normal human being.
Yes.
Right? I go out to the grocery store and buy my groceries with my family, and
right.
Yeah, we do have a lot of those conversations about safety because we want to be able to continue to have those meetings with our constituents and do it in a public way. I did town halls 2 weeks ago, and the rhetoric in this country, unfortunately, has ramped up a bit. I had to have 3 sheriff's deputies with me and some private security as well, just to make sure we can be safe. But I think no matter what your politics, watching what happened this week with Charlie, I mean, your reaction should be the same. It should be outrage, right? This is a young man, a man of God, a husband, a father, someone who cared deeply about this country, who was shot for speaking his political beliefs. And I think that sent it was a chilling message to our country. So I hope we can continue to come together and have those conversations, maybe talk a little bit more about it instead of tweeting through it. I know my 14-year-old son, Max, we had a very serious conversation. He loved Charlie Kirk. And when we talked to him about the videos, he said, we asked him, how many of these have you watched? He said, all of them, right? So he's heartbroken. And my last text to Charlie last week actually was telling him that my son wants to establish a turning point at his high school in Marion, Iowa. So it's just been a devastating week, but I'm hopeful we can come together and have some serious conversations about things.
You mentioned the videos. We were talking about that on set before the show began. Florida Congresswoman, your colleague, Anna Paulina Luna, she is now saying to Elon Musk, to Mark Zuckerberg, to TikTok, scrub these graphic videos of Charlie Kirk's assassination from social media. Here's what she wrote. No one should be forced to relive this tragedy online. At some point, social media begins to desensitize humanity. We must still value life. She says TikTok responded to her request, and they're taking down the videos. Fox Business did reach out to TikTok. We haven't heard back. Meta, meanwhile, referred us to its video policy. Per our violent and graphic content policies, we're applying a mark as sensitive warning label to footage of the shooting and are age gating it to 18 plus. As with other events, we do not allow content that glorifies, represents, or supports the incident or the perpetrator, and it will be removed. What can lawmakers do here?
Yeah, well, I think certainly we need to make sure our young people are not seeing this sensitive content. I think that's a pretty good response from these social media companies. Obviously, we want to make sure people have a right to spread information. Misinformation spreads very quickly, too, and I think that's a worry that we certainly have. I know the governor of Utah spoke about that last night. Many of our adversaries are trying to push this inflammatory content online. So I think that's where our need is to step in there and try to figure out how can we make sure people still can exercise their First Amendment rights, but that we're protecting our young people in that process and not letting our adversaries fan the flames.
We've got Katie McFarland coming up later on the show, and she's made that point already, that this is an example of actors around the world that want to disrupt our democracy and want to disrupt our country and make us angry against each other.
China, Russia, Iran, they benefit if we're in discord, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing out of this is we need to unify out of this tragedy and try to have reasonable conversations. That's what I've tried to do. Again, I respect what Charlie was trying to do. He was going and debating and having those conversations, even if he disagreed with people, trying to change their minds. And that's what we should be doing more of instead of shutting down and just going to social media and being keyboard warriors.
Well, since you're here, we got to talk about the business on Capitol Hill, yes. Congresswoman. So there's just 6 legislative days to go until this shutdown. House and Senate Democrats say they're not going to back any spending bill that doesn't lower health care costs. That's been the fight. Republicans are pushing ahead with their own funding plan. Senate Majority Leader John Thune betting there's enough moderate Democrats to break ranks. Yeah. What do you say?
I hope we can get some movement, and I hope Senator Schumer doesn't play shutdown politics with people's health care like it seems like they're trying to do. They have no plan and no message other than their hatred for the president, and it's very, very clear that they think the TDS syndrome is going to get them through the next couple of weeks. We're focused on delivering on the president's agenda, which is actually lowering health care costs and prescription drug costs, helping our veterans to get the care they deserve and need, lowering taxes for working families. That's what we have been focused on the last 8-9 months, and so so to see them have this approach and not be willing to come to the table and negotiate in good faith, it's unsettling a little bit. We should be rooting for our country to be successful, and I think that starts by being responsible here.
Lee's a pollster, and we saw that in 2024. That didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, going against the president, attacking Trump, it had the opposite effect. You saw that in your numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it had the exact opposite effect of what it was that you wanted. You see it also in the mayoral race in New York. On the flip side, you see in New York, if you go out and attack, it doesn't work. When you say, this is what I'm going to do for you and these are my plans, that's when you start to win. You can't win by just saying you're a fascist or you're a this and try to take people down. So without a message, I don't think they have much hope.
Right. Our message is we want to actually solve these problems. The only way to solve these problems is to keep the government open and keep working for you. Their message is we just hate the president. This is our fight. So I think those two things are going to collide in the next couple of weeks. And I'm, again, hopeful some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will see the reality here and that we all want to root for our country to be successful.
Put the country first and put your, it's okay to have discourse, and that was what Charlie Kirk was doing.
Right.
Going to campuses and having discourse, but having conversations and not screaming. By the way, speaking of elections, President Trump has just endorsed you in your campaign for Senate to replace Joni Ernst in Iowa when she retires. By the way, let's show this. He touted your success on Truth Social. Here's what he wrote about you. I know Ashley well, and she is a winner, a loving wife, and proud mother of 2 sons. Ashley is a wonderful person, has always delivered for Iowa, and will continue doing so in the United States Senate. Congratulations on that endorsement. How does Senator Hinson sound to everybody?
Sounds great to me. I'm going to go out and earn it, though. I think it's really important to go out and visit with Iowans. That's my job, is to hear their stories and then tell their stories in Washington. And I want to continue to do that. And I love the president. I love working beside him. And he needs a strong ally in the United States Senate, especially in what could be a challenging election cycle. So I'm stepping up to go out and make sure we leave it all on the table. There's more work to do to get the job done. As I talked about, middle-class families. My boys are 14 and 12. I think about what we're leaving that next generation, and so many families are counting us so that they can have that American dream. So I look forward to working on Iowans' priorities and the president's priorities and winning in 2026.
We're going to be following it. Please come back anytime. We love having you. Senator Ernst has always been so lovely and wonderful. So
we love Joni.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. Yeah, big shoes to fill.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. Great to